There's a subtle form of communication that most people overlook, yet it shapes the way we connect more than words ever could. Physical touch. Almost every man has experienced it. An interaction with a woman that feels effortless and natural, yet only a few understand why certain moments leave a lasting impression. It isn't about clever lines, jokes, or displays of charm. It's about how the body and mind respond to the simplest gestures. Imagine this. A conversation is flowing smoothly, laughter appears naturally, and then something small happens. A brief touch on her arm, a gentle hug, or hands brushing together for a split second longer than expected. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. She seems more present, more attentive, more emotionally engaged. These are not dramatic moments, and they are often invisible to the untrained eye, but they carry enormous psychological weight. Why does this happen? The human brain processes physical contact on a deeply emotional level. Unlike words, which require interpretation, touch triggers instinctive responses: comfort, trust, curiosity, and connection. For women, touch conveys far more than intention. It communicates presence, confidence, and calmness without a single word. In this guide, we'll explore 5 types of touches that can instantly influence emotional connection. From the very first greeting to the final goodbye, these small gestures can transform how someone experiences your presence. Understanding the psychology behind them isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. By learning to notice, time, and deliver these moments naturally, you create interactions that are memorable, genuine, and quietly powerful. Most men assume attraction happens through words, humor, or clever conversation. While those elements play a role, the truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. Physical touch speaks directly to the brain in a language that words cannot match. It triggers emotional responses instantly, often before either person is consciously aware of it. The psychology behind this is simple but profound. For women, touch is processed emotionally rather than literally. Their brains are constantly scanning small cues. Does this man feel confident? Calm? Comfortable in his own skin? Does his presence feel safe and attentive? Even a brief touch can answer these questions silently, creating a wave of emotion that shapes how the entire interaction is experienced. Evolutionarily, humans relied on nonverbal communication long before language existed. Touch was, and still is, a primary method of signaling trust, safety, and connection. A reassuring hand on the shoulder, a playful tap, or a gentle guiding touch can communicate far more than any sentence ever could. However, touch isn't a magic tool that creates attraction out of nowhere. Its effect depends on the emotional atmosphere already present. If comfort, attentiveness, and mutual interest exist, touch amplifies those feelings. If tension or awkwardness exists, touch can intensify discomfort. That's why timing, context, and authenticity matter more than the act itself. By understanding the subtle psychology of touch, you begin to see how simple gestures shape emotions. You start to notice moments where connection naturally emerges, moments that can transform a casual interaction into a meaningful experience. Over the next sections, we'll explore 5 specific touches that reliably enhance emotional connection, explaining why they work and how to use them naturally without forcing anything. The very first moment of physical contact often sets the tone for the entire interaction, yet most men underestimate it. A greeting hug isn't just a polite gesture, it's a silent signal that communicates confidence, ease, and presence. When delivered naturally, it creates an immediate sense of comfort, trust, and emotional connection. Think about how you feel when someone greets you with a rushed or awkward hug. The tension is palpable. Now imagine a calm, relaxed hug that lasts just long enough to feel genuine. That brief contact sends a subconscious message: I'm comfortable being close to you, and I respect your space. It's not about trying to impress or create attraction. It's about presence and authenticity. A confident greeting hug involves subtle elements: relaxed posture, steady breathing, gentle pressure, and appropriate eye contact before or after the hug. It doesn't need to be long or dramatic. In fact, overdoing it can feel unnatural and uncomfortable. The key is that it feels effortless, like a natural extension of your interaction. Psychologically, the brain remembers first impressions vividly, and physical contact strengthens them. When a woman experiences a calm and confident hug, her nervous system registers safety and comfort. That small moment quietly sets the emotional rhythm for everything that follows: laughter, conversation, and any future touches. In short, the greeting hug is more than a formality. It's a foundation. When executed with authenticity, it can quietly shift the energy of an interaction, creating openness and curiosity. From this first contact, attraction begins, not because of words, but because of how someone feels in your presence.
Once the initial greeting has set a comfortable tone, subtle touches during conversation can strengthen connection in a natural, effortless way. One of the most effective is a light touch on the arm or shoulder while sharing a laugh or reacting to something meaningful she says. This small gesture reinforces positive emotions without drawing attention to itself. The power of this touch lies in timing and context. It isn't a rehearsed move. It happens organically, often at a moment when attention, laughter, or emotion is already present. When a woman experiences this touch, her brain begins to link the feeling of comfort and enjoyment with your physical presence. That creates an emotional association that strengthens connection subtly but powerfully. Importantly, authenticity is everything. A touch that feels forced or poorly timed can create discomfort or awkwardness. The goal isn't to manipulate emotions, but to reinforce the natural flow of interaction. This gesture communicates attentiveness, warmth, and shared emotional engagement, qualities that foster trust and openness. Observing social cues is key. If she leans in, smiles genuinely, or mirrors your body language, the moment is ripe for a subtle touch. The gesture doesn't need to linger, just long enough to be noticed subconsciously. Over time, these repeated micro moments of physical connection quietly deepen familiarity, comfort, and attraction. In essence, light arm contact works because it amplifies the emotional rhythm already present. It turns a shared laugh or meaningful comment into a brief but memorable moment, creating an invisible thread of connection that draws her closer emotionally without words. Some of the most natural and effective touches happen during movement or playful interactions. This could be a gentle hand on the back while walking through a crowded area, a subtle guiding touch to help her navigate a step, or a playful tap during shared laughter. These gestures are often spontaneous, yet they communicate attentiveness, presence, and care. The key to this touch is subtlety. It should feel light and effortless, never controlling or overbearing. A gentle guiding touch signals that you are aware of her comfort and surroundings. Women often interpret this calm attentiveness as a form of quiet leadership, someone who is present, grounded, and considerate without needing to dominate. This builds trust naturally, which is one of the foundations of attraction. Playful touches also reinforce positive emotions during moments of shared humor or connection. A brief tap, playful nudge, or light shoulder brush can make interactions feel dynamic and alive. These touches create small bursts of physical connection that amplify emotional engagement, making the overall experience more memorable. Timing and context matter more than the gesture itself. A well-timed touch, synchronized with laughter or a moment of shared understanding, feels natural and effortless. Repeated over time, these small moments cultivate familiarity, comfort, and emotional warmth. In short, guiding or playful touches work because they signal attentiveness and care while enhancing the emotional flow of an interaction. When executed naturally, they deepen connection without a single word, making your presence feel safe, enjoyable, and subtly magnetic.
One of the most powerful yet often overlooked forms of touch happens through hands. Whether it's helping her step over a curb, passing an object, or lightly brushing hands during conversation, these fleeting moments create an unexpectedly strong emotional impact. Hands are highly sensitive, and carry a wealth of information for the nervous system, which is why even a brief contact can feel significant. The beauty of hand connection lies in its subtlety. Unlike hugs or overt gestures, hand touches are intimate without being intrusive. They signal comfort, trust, and mutual awareness. When two people allow this small moment of contact to happen naturally, it communicates a deeper level of connection. I notice you. I am aware of your presence. You are comfortable with me. That silent exchange can be far more memorable than words. Timing and context are crucial. A hand connection should never feel forced or rehearsed. It works best when it emerges spontaneously in a shared experience. A laugh, a playful nudge, or helping her reach something. These natural moments feel effortless, and the brain responds accordingly, linking the physical sensation with positive emotions. This type of touch also reinforces emotional safety. When someone allows their hand to connect briefly with yours, it signals mutual comfort and trust. The brain interprets this as a small yet meaningful sign of closeness. Over time, these repeated hand connections quietly strengthen familiarity and attachment, creating subtle but lasting impressions. In essence, hand connection is powerful because it combines sensitivity, timing, and emotional resonance. It's a touch that speaks without words, creating a moment of shared comfort and attention that lingers in memory. When used naturally, it deepens emotional intimacy and sets the stage for meaningful connection. The final touch of an interaction often carries more emotional weight than any that came before. The goodbye moment, whether a calm hug, a gentle hand squeeze, or a subtle brush of the arm, is frequently the most memorable. Psychologically, this is due to the brain's tendency to remember beginnings and endings more vividly than the middle of an experience, a phenomenon known as the primacy and recency effect. A relaxed and genuine goodbye reinforces everything that came before. If the interaction was enjoyable, a brief, authentic hug or touch at the end leaves a lasting impression of warmth, comfort, and connection. Conversely, a rushed or awkward farewell can undermine the positive energy of the entire interaction, leaving subtle discomfort or uncertainty in its wake. The key is authenticity. A goodbye gesture should feel natural, not forced or overly dramatic. Gentle pressure, calm posture, and appropriate eye contact create a sense of presence and attentiveness that lingers. This final physical contact often becomes the emotional bookmark of the interaction, the detail the brain recalls later when thinking about the experience. Even a short, subtle gesture can communicate appreciation, attentiveness, and care. It leaves a subconscious imprint that signals emotional engagement and attentiveness throughout the encounter. Over time, these consistent, thoughtful moments of physical connection create trust, familiarity, and attraction. In essence, the goodbye touch is more than a farewell. It is the emotional punctuation mark of the experience. When executed naturally, it reinforces the positive feelings of the interaction and leaves a lingering sense of comfort and connection. This simple moment often determines whether someone remembers you fondly, thinks about you later, and feels emotionally drawn to you in future interactions. Even when a man understands the power of touch, it's easy to unintentionally undermine attraction. Many men make subtle errors that create discomfort rather than connection, often without realizing it. Recognizing these mistakes is essential to using physical contact effectively. One common mistake is forcing touch. Trying to create intimacy artificially through awkward hugs, prolonged arm touches, or repeated attempts at hand contact can feel unnatural and trigger discomfort. Authenticity matters far more than technique. The brain immediately detects tension or overeagerness. Another frequent error is ignoring emotional cues. Touch works only when the emotional atmosphere is right. If the conversation feels tense, rushed, or disjointed, physical contact amplifies that discomfort instead of building connection. Observing body language, eye contact, and mutual engagement is essential before initiating any touch. Overthinking interactions is also a pitfall. Men who constantly plan gestures or monitor reactions often appear tense, disrupting the natural flow of interaction. Presence and observation are far more effective than rehearsed actions. Finally, lack of confidence or grounded presence undermines physical gestures. A man who appears nervous, hesitant, or distracted communicates uncertainty. Women are highly sensitive to this, and it diminishes the emotional impact of touch. By avoiding these common mistakes, touch can enhance connection rather than create awkwardness. The goal is to be authentic, observant, and present, allowing natural opportunities for physical contact to strengthen comfort, trust, and emotional engagement. The key to effective touch is authenticity. Touch only works when it feels effortless, aligned with the flow of interaction, and consistent with your presence. Trying to force it or treat it like a trick will almost always backfire. Instead, focus on being fully present and responsive to the emotional rhythm of the conversation. Timing and context are critical. A light touch works best when emotions are already engaged, during laughter, shared curiosity, or meaningful moments. Observing her body language can guide your decisions. Is she relaxed, leaning in, or mirroring your movements? These subtle signals indicate comfort and openness, making touch feel natural rather than intrusive. Start small. Simple gestures like a brief arm touch, guiding hand on the back, or playful tap during a laugh are enough to create connection. These moments do not require intensity. They are effective precisely because they are subtle and spontaneous. Relaxed body language reinforces the naturalness of touch. Keep your posture open, maintain calm breathing, and move confidently but gently. Authentic presence communicates stability and attentiveness without a single word, allowing touch to reinforce connection rather than overshadow it. Ultimately, natural touch emerges from awareness, timing, and emotional attunement. By observing cues, staying present, and letting moments unfold organically, you create physical contact that feels seamless and genuine. This approach fosters trust, deepens comfort, and makes emotional connection feel effortless and memorable.